Hey everyone, it's me Ian. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Vlogmas. It is now the Sunday before Christmas and I am still working on last minute gifts. We have a pecan tree in our backyard, and so for my grandma we are going to make several various pecan themed treats and desserts. She's not big into chocolate, but she does like pecans a lot, and I think that there's something special about pecans coming from our backyard. So the first recipe I'm showing you is some Texas chewy pecan pralines. If you don't know what pralines are, it's basically just like caramel and pecans. But anyway, step one is to roast the pecans in the oven and toss it with some butter and salt when they come out. I'll be honest with you, I think I might make another batch of these and not toast the pecans first because I feel like the roasty toasty pecan flavor kind of was overpowering. But you need like a meat thermometer or candy thermometer ideally for this. So you've got your dark corn syrup, your brown sugar, your white sugar, melting in the pot on the stove up to 250. Once it reaches 250, you take it off the heat and you add butter and cream, which is what I'm doing here, and then you put it back on the heat. There's vanilla in there as well. I think you add the vanilla at the end, but after you add in the butter and the cream, you put it back on the heat and heat it up to 242, and then you mix in, I believe at that point, the vanilla and the pecans and a little bit more salt. I was actually trying to make two recipes simultaneously, and I'll show you the recipe I was making at the same time as the pecan pralines here in a second. But see how goopy it is? Like, I legit made caramel. I felt pretty good about that. I feel like a lot of people will attest that caramel is difficult to make because it can crystallize and burn easily if you're not careful. I think I made some of my pralines too big because the recipe didn't specify like what size the finished product should be. It said like a spoonful. So I'm like, is it a big spoonful, a heaping spoonful, like a little spoonful? So I made like 5 huge ones, and then I made like 10 or 15 little bitty ones. I think I ended up with 17 total. So maybe it was 12 little ones and 5 big ones. The recipe said it would make 18, so I got pretty close to the projected amount. But anyway, they set up really nicely and looked super glossy, which I don't have a finished shot of them. I'm going to put them into like little individual cellophane bags. So you saw me preheating the oven to 350. That's for these cookies. These are some of my favorite cookies at Christmas time. I just started making them a couple years ago, but they're brown sugar, brown butter, pecan oatmeal cookies. I showed a clip at the very beginning of the video of a tray of candied roasted pecans, which my husband had made earlier in the day. I chopped those up to use as the pecan pieces in these cookies because that kind of just elevates the sugary, cinnamony flavor. But you gotta brown your butter first in this recipe, and this is time consuming. Not that it takes that long to brown your butter, but it does take a long time for it to cool. And then I splashed the brown butter all over the kitchen when I added in the brown sugar. But anyway, once it's cooled, then you can add in your brown sugar and your eggs and such. Once you've got that incorporated, you get your flour and your cinnamon, whatever your dry ingredients in. And then the last things you mix in are the pecans and the oats. I am a mature adult woman and I love an oatmeal cookie. I feel like people get disappointed when it's an oatmeal raisin cookie. I love an oatmeal raisin cookie. My favorite cookie is a chocolate chip cookie, but I feel like a cool chocolate chip cookie doesn't hit as hard as a cool cinnamon raisin, oatmeal cookie, because the oatmeal cookies stay chewy. This is what they look like out of the oven. I didn't bake all of the batch because I wanted to save some in the fridge and have them baked more fresh, but I baked up 6 for me to try, just right here and now. Okay, this is the last recipe. This is for white chocolate, cranberry, pecan fudge. So this recipe also started out with roasting up the pecans and chopping them. And I always love picking the worst knife for the job. Does anyone else do that? Always choose the wrong utensil to cook with? Look at me struggling because I'm holding my phone with one hand and I'm chopping with the other. I'm not typically this clumsy. You'll see me give up on filming here in a second and move on. Anyway, there's my chopped roasted pecans. Now for this recipe, you've got to get a double boiler going, or you can do this in the microwave. This is actually a very easy recipe because you can make it in the microwave instead, but I like using the double boiler because I feel like I can keep a closer eye on it. And because my son was napping, I didn't want to deal with like the beeping of the microwave over and over and over again. So you got your white chocolate chips, 3.5 cups, and a 14-ounce container of sweetened condensed milk. And you just melt that on the double boiler until it's nice and creamy. I was feeling a little skeptical because it was looking kind of chunkily for a while. It was looking like my thighs at the beach for a little while, but eventually we got it looking smooth and creamy. And once it is all melted and looking nice, you add in your vanilla and your chopped pecans and your dried cranberries. I love white chocolate and cranberry at the holidays. Give that a little mixy with a little dash of salt, and pour that out into a 8x8 baking dish, and that's good to go. And guys, I feel so stressed about making all of these treats. I really enjoy holiday baking, but I feel like I'm under such a time crunch. So, I don't know. Let me know how your last minute Christmas prep is going, and if you are feeling the holiday stress as much as I am. But soon I'll be able to eat some of these baked goods, and let me tell you, what I've tried so far is quite delicious, so it will all be worth it in the end. Alright everybody, have a good one. See you in the next one. Bye!